And today we have the news that the Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time remake has a new developer. And I would say we are going through the official announcement and then we are talking a little bit about this. Hello, Prince of Persia fans. The development of Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time remake will now be led by Ubisoft Montreal, the very birthplace of the epic Sands of Time trilogy. This decision is an important step, and the team, building upon the work achieved by Ubisoft Pune and Ubisoft Mumbai, will now take the time they need to regroup on the scope of the game to deliver you the best experience for this remake of an all-time classic when it's ready. We want to thank you all for your continued support and patience throughout the development. Rest assured that we will update you on the progress in the future update. The dev team. First of all, this text is not centered. Second of all, it seems like some parts of the written stuff is disappearing here sometimes. Wow, okay, interesting. But all this aside, wow. So keep in mind this game should have been released last year. And it's another Ubisoft game which seems to be stuck in development hell. And the team which was basically responsible for that was Ubisoft Pune and Ubisoft Mumbai. And they just didn't manage. The first time they showed trailers of the game, it looked bad. It looked really bad. You looked at the remake and you were like, that's a demake, right? You're showing us demake footage, not even remaster, but demake, right? There were people even T-posing in the background, and it looked very shabby. And well, then they had to postpone it multiple times. They probably gave the team more time to figure out what the problem is, and then at some point they were just okay, you know what? Let's ship it off to Ubisoft Montreal. And I will be honest, I'm not surprised. This is a problem we have been talking about for quite some time, and this is a big Ubisoft problem. Ubisoft tried to industrialize game making. They really tried to bring the industrial revolution to how you make video games, and they failed, in my opinion. They completely failed with it, and they changed a lot of things, how they're handling games, how the progress works, and so on and so forth. We talked about this before in my stream. And they basically tried to put those games on the assembly line and just put them together as if you would put any product together on an assembly line. The biggest problem which Ubisoft is suffering because of that, it's a very complex problem, so it might not fit in all of this video, but one of the biggest problems is Ubisoft need workers for this to happen. They need programmers, hundreds of them. Keep in mind, Ubisoft games sometimes are developed by multiple studios with 700, 800, 900, or even 1,000 people working at one video game, just hammering this game together. And quality suffers, of course. But I think one of the biggest issues which is finally catching up with Ubisoft is a specific problem the gaming industry has, and that is finding enough developers or development teams. The pool of workers which are available to the game industry has always been very, very small since the inception of video games, because it's a highly artistic job and not everyone has the ability to do it, right? And I'm not. I have been working on some games, but I have been working on some games as a community manager because, that's the best I can basically do to help out the game. But as I said, the problem is they are just not enough worker in this pool. And especially in the last 2 years, because of the pandemic and other things happening in the gaming industry, especially at Ubisoft, people were leaving, developers and publishers, or sometimes left the gaming industry completely, never to return, because they had enough of it. And so Ubisoft, which finally brings us to this. Ubisoft tried to circumvent that issue with one of the oldest tricks in the book: outsourcing. They opened up studios in corners of the world which just have like quantity instead of quality, right? That's how they try to like outrun the problem. And this is what we heard directly from like Ubisoft Mumbai, Ubisoft Pune, Ubisoft Singapore. Like, we heard multiple people who worked at those studios and reports that they basically just put those teams together, put hundreds of people together who have no real rhyme or reason to work together, who don't like click with each other. And it was really just, hey, look, we have 1,000 people working in this studio. Awesome. But the quality of the people they basically hired wasn't there. That was like a big problem. And this is not coming from me. This is coming directly from the people who work there. So, and I think that caught up with them. And we see this with Prince of Persia. We see this with Skull and Bones, right? Where like Ubisoft just tried to get quantity over quality when it came to the people they hired. And because they needed this on how they develop games, because Ubisoft has changed like a lot of integrate systems on how games are developed to just push them out faster. Like, this is why Ubisoft is trying to release a game every 2 years. Like, normally a development time of a game is 4 to 5 years. If you're really quick about it, 3 years if you're really good and you can reuse a lot of assets and whatnot. But Ubisoft basically tried to completely build games from scratch in 2 years. And it just doesn't work. That's the answer so far. And they had just too many games which show that. Like, if you were looking at the Ubisoft catalog and you are seeing the unreleased and even released games sometimes, which got completely put together under pressure from those teams, you just have to admit it doesn't work. And now that you have also heard that maybe the owners of Ubisoft, the Gilmore family, is thinking about grabbing a golden parachute and selling the company, whoever wants to pay a lot of money for it, gives you a lot to think about. So this doesn't really surprise me that they are taking it out of the hand of the studios who worked on this before, because they realize they cannot do it. This is, of course, like, it's sad. Like, this is sad because probably the people who also worked on this game have put in a lot of time and energy. And worst case scenario, they just got told, you are out of a job, right? Like, that sucks. That really sucks. But I hope this is also the time where Ubisoft starts to think about what they have been doing and maybe change their ways. No, too much hoping. Okay. But yeah, like, we will see what this means. But TLDR for this game, this will probably take another year or two. Like, if the team is now assessing the scope of the game, right, and is assessing like the whole game, that's basically the speech in development terms of, holy moly, this is a mess. Like, we might have to begin completely from the beginning. Like, yeah. If you want to get another example on, we have to assess the scope of the game, Vampire the Masquerade 2. There was one of those games where they said, yeah, we found a new developer and now they have to assess the scope of the game. And that was, 2 years ago? So, yeah, that is normally not a good sign in any shape or form. But with that said, we are at the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate if you leave a like. If you're new to the channel, you want to see more gaming news, opinion videos, reaction videos to game announcements, and also some Warhammer 40k lore videos here and there, I would appreciate if you subscribe to the channel. If you ever want to catch me live, you can do so from Monday to Friday, starting at 9 AM ET, which is 2 PM UK time and 3 PM Central European time, over at trovo.live/ChaosMole. And if you want to support me on YouTube directly, you can do so when you are clicking on the join button, which you will see under the video. With that said, thank you so much for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.